Ms. Copado, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I
Hey,
am.
yes, we're able to hear you, President Uribe.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gutierrez is not responding, so I'll come back to her. Mr. Ramirez.
Present.
Ms. Cabrera.
Present.
Ms. Magaña.
Present.
And Ms. Gutierrez.
Present.
Thank you. And I am present as well. Dr. Ewan, can you lead us in the flag salute?
Yes, everyone, please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Ewan. At this time, we would like to adopt the agenda. Dr. Garland, are there any modifications to this evening's agenda?
Yes, ma'am. Hang on a second. I'm having a little issue with my volume. Hang on one second. I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Yes, ma'am. Item 9B1 has been revised and copies have been provided to you and copies have been uploaded to our website for the public.
Thank you, Dr. Garland. Ms.
Thank you.
Copado, are you making any recommendations to make modifications to this evening's agenda?
Yes, thank you, President Uribe. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2, subsection B, subsection 2, staff is recommending amending the agenda to add item 9A-1 as a subsequent need item relating to the approval of certificated employees prior to the reopening of our schools. Copies of this action item has been provided to you, and copies have also been uploaded to our district's website for the public's review. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2, subsection B, subsection 2, this is a subsequent need item in that the information came to the district's attention after we posted the agenda for tonight's meeting. And there is a need for the board to take immediate action to ensure the approval of employment and payment of non-permanent employees to take place prior to the reopening of the schools. And there are 31 employees in this category. We will need a 2/3 vote of the board members being present, or if less than 2/3 of the board members present, we will need a unanimous vote of the members being present to make this amendment to the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Copado. With that, I move to approve the agenda with the modifications as indicated by Dr. Garland and Ms. Copado. May I have a second?
Second.
I believe it was Mr. Ramirez? Or was it Ms. Magaña? I'm not sure, Ms. Copado.
It was board clerk Ramirez.
At this time, I would like to do a roll call vote. Ms. Gutierrez?
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez?
Aye.
Ms. Cabrera?
Aye.
Ms. Magaña?
Aye.
An aye for me as well. That motion is carried. At this time, we will move on to our in-person learning and independent studies presentation, and I would like to call on Dr. Garland.
Thank you, President Uribe. I would like to introduce Director Sands and Director Rodarte that are here from Student Services. And Mr. Sands, could you please load up the PowerPoint? Thank you. Can everyone see it okay? There we go.
Yes.
Thank you. Student Services held an informational meeting on Monday night regarding independent studies that was attended by 1,000 people and many on YouTube. We want to thank all of our community members that joined the presentation. This is a very, very important topic that we wanted to present again for our community at our board meeting tonight. The state has said that schools are expected to fully reopen for in-person instruction for the 2021-2022 school year. Assembly Bill 130, which is recently passed, authorizes independent study for students whose health would be at risk by in-person instruction as determined by their parent or guardian. The state has given us a very short timeline to put together the independent study program and the processes. So to be clear, the state has only provided 2 options for instruction for this coming school year, either independent study or full-time in-person instruction. And independent study is not distance learning. Distance learning is currently not an option per the state for this upcoming school year. We will now go over the 2 options that the state allows for 2021-2022 school year, and we will begin with in-person instruction. So the piece of this presentation, we will review the safety protocols that are in place and the facilities work that has been completed to be ready for our students to return to in-person instruction. MUSD must follow the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health guidelines. The safety and security of our students and staff is so important to us that we're actually going beyond what the county and state are requiring for our safety protocols. The safety measures and protocols that we have in place are: all students and staff will be required to wear a mask while indoors at all times. Masks are not required for outside activities on campus. Social distancing will be practiced where possible, but there is no distant requirement. Students and staff daily health screenings will continue to be done through our Qualtrics system. As a reminder to our parents and guardians, do not send your children to school if they are experiencing fever or any sort of COVID-19 symptoms. MUSD personnel will work with Los Angeles County Department of Public Health to report and trace all positive COVID-19 cases while following strict protocols for notifying anyone exposed to a person with COVID-19. All students will be using their desk buddies as a barrier for extra protection. Parents can sign their students up for weekly COVID-19 testing. This is an option for students, not a requirement. Here's the sample of what the daily wellness checks look like that all staff and students and visitors are required to complete each day. This is a sample of what the desk buddies look like as an extra layer of protection. Next, Dr. Yuen will share with the community our new furniture and the academic supports we will have in place.
Good evening, members of the board, executive cabinet, and community members. I do want to provide an update about our new student furniture. So if you take a look on the left picture, I know it seems a little bit weird to see pallets of shrink wrapped materials, but this is how our furniture comes in. It comes in pieces, and the vendor has to come out and piece them together and then put them in the classroom. So I just wanted to share with you that we have ordered these things, and it does take time to build and assemble and to put into classrooms. But once they're all assembled, it looks like the picture on the right. So that's one example of a classroom with the new furniture. As you can see, you can pull them apart, or you can put them into to form a small group. Here's some additional pictures. Again, on the left, new furniture, desks and chairs. And then on the right, those are desks and chairs as well, with the desk buddies laying on top of the chairs. So we're seeing these furniture come in last week and this week and some next week. Due to a huge demand from school districts, there's been a shortage in supplies, in production, and in the delays in delivery. So we're most likely going to see most of the furniture arrive sometime in mid to late August, and then even some in September. But we're very excited that what we have now is in place and will offer our students and our staff members new settings for them to use. I do want to highlight two very cool, very unique things that Montebello Unified School District is offering. The first one is a 24/7 online tutoring program, and it's called Paper. We actually purchased this at the end of last school year. So we are setting this up with a new student information, with a new group of students, getting them all of their accounts. So this online program is available to all intermediate and high school students. Students are able to log into Paper and chat live with the tutor who can answer their questions about, pretty much any subject: English, math, history, science. It's all done via chat base. And it's available 24/7. We know that in high school, students have extracurricular activities and they may not get home until 7 or 8 at night. So they can log on at that time and get their homework done. Students will have unlimited access to this program. And again, it's an online chat-based tutoring. It's available in multiple languages. Some examples include English, Spanish, French, and Chinese. And then our schools will be sending out some information with login soon. And then for our elementary students, we are looking into another program that's a little bit more conducive for the elementary grades, which includes some voice communications, because we know that we just can't envision a kindergartner or a first grade student sitting in front of a screen typing their questions and interacting that way. So we are looking at another option for our elementary students. The other exciting program that we're going to be implementing is called our Accelerated Learning Labs, or ALL. This was actually presented by Zapir Hakopian a couple of board meetings ago, but I just wanted to remind the community of this innovative, exciting program that we're going to be offering to our students. We're going to be offering acceleration classes during the school day. We're really going to focus on students who may have struggled during the distance learning time. Maybe it just didn't work out for them. They just didn't, learn as much as they could. It was just not the right setting. So really focusing on the students who struggled in distance learning and using this time to accelerate their learning so they can make the most gains in the shortest amount of time. So for elementary school, we're going to use a pull-out model. We're going to focus on literacy, and the class sizes will be small, in the low teens, 10, 12, or even less. In the intermediate and high school, they're going to be in a regular class, but those classes will be smaller sizes, and it's going to focus on English and math. Those are the two subjects that we find as the most challenging for our students, and those are the two classes that are required for graduation and also college entrance as well. And finally, what's unique about this program is we're going to be working with our teachers to use strategic and data-informed instruction for students who are about the 2 to 3 years below grade level range. Again, we're targeting a specific group of students here who will benefit from this. Some of the questions might be, hey, what about my student who maybe is achieving, even more far below these 2 or 3 years below grade level? Well, we do have a solution for that. All of our schools still have intervention programs available for them. So this ALL program is above and beyond what our schools offer. And again, this program will be available at every school. So again, I just wanted to remind the board and the community that we're coming up with these great innovative ideas. We're really trying to help our students who struggled last year make the greatest gains in the shortest amount of time. So next, we're going to have Mr. Ellingson. He's going to share a little bit about some of the school readiness facilities work that has been done.
Dr. Ewan, I actually have a quick question. Regarding the tutoring, you mentioned for elementary, we don't have something as of yet. Can you just elaborate a time frame as far as when we would decide on a program to help elementary?
Yes, actually, we met with a vendor 2 weeks ago. We had some principals, elementary principals, sit in to provide feedback and their thoughts. And so far the feedback has been positive. Luckily, this is a vendor that we've worked with before. So we know this person, this organization and this company. So it's just a matter of getting quotes and then moving forward with the requisition.
One more question. So for the students, say who are independent study, are they going to have access to it as well? Is it just for all elementary students?
So both programs will be available for all students, regardless if they are in person or independent studies. As long as they're a student in MUSD and have an account with us, they have access.
Perfect. That sounds great to hear. And I also had one more question. Last academic year, we had Happy Numbers and EPIC and a lot of online programs to help our students. Will we be extending that for this year, or is that now gonna just filter out?
All of those have been extended already. So I'm sure that, we may have forgotten for those thick word packets, but they were done already. We are moving with Mayan. Mayan is a online digital ebook program. Epic, they didn't sell school subscriptions. So we went with Mayan, and there's like tens of thousands of titles in there. So students will have access to ebooks that they can read at home and at school.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ewan. I did forget. There's just so much going on, but thank you for that reminder.
Sure.
I also have a couple of questions regarding the tutoring. I'm just wondering, I know that students are going to receive information in their login info. Is there like already an existing presentation? And where this is coming from is I want to make sure like students get excited about it, right? I know tutoring might not seem like the most exciting thing, but is there like a uniform presentation or guidance that's going to be provided to middle schools and high schools so that teachers know how to present it in a way that will really, entice them to want to use it if they need it?
Yes, in speaking with this company, the key thing is really promotion of it. It's something that you can't just say, here, we have this, and then expect them to use it. So we do have a promotion plan in place that it does involve presentations to the community, email blasts with their passwords and flyers. So it's gonna arrive to parents in multiple formats and students in multiple formats.
Great. Yeah, that was my second question. Like, how are we going to make sure that the parents know? I'm assuming that part of the messaging will probably also be having some sort of presentation in English and in Spanish for parents to learn more about it. Is it correct for me to assume that?
Yes, the presentations will show what this program is, how to log in, the features, and then same thing with our teachers. The teachers will be able to go into pull reports to see how much use the students are using. So there's something for them as well.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. Thank you.
Madam President, I also have a question, if I may.
Yes.
Dr. Ewan, when you mentioned about the furniture, I understand that there's a delay due to high demand. However, just to clarify for our parents and to give them peace of mind, the classrooms that are still waiting for their furniture, they will be ready to receive our students, correct? And we will be cleaning this furniture for the students. I just want to make sure that our parents understand that regardless of whether the furniture is there or not, the students are still going to be safe and there is furniture.
Sorry, it was kind of broken up right when you asked that question. Can you ask that question one more time?
I think what she was asking, Dr. Ewan, is regardless of the time frame or the estimate for the arrival of the remaining student furniture, she wanted to assure the community that there was furniture and safety protocols in place. Is that correct?
Yes, regardless, yes, all of the classroom will have furniture. All of the classrooms will have the barriers. And as Mr. Ellingson will present later on, there's safety measures and equipment inside our classrooms.
Thank you so much, Board President. Thank you so much, Dr. Ewan.
Thank you, Kaven. So part of our return has been the work done in our facilities department. A lot of that is focused on creating a safer environment for students and staff. Part of the items that have been taking place are carpet removal and classroom painting where the carpet existed in those classrooms. So we removed the carpet and we replaced it with tile flooring. It's easier to clean and it doesn't house bacteria as well as the carpet did. The carpet would hold things in and we just felt it was an unsafe environment. So we went ahead and replaced all of that. That work was completed in July. In addition, we've done the HVAC air filters. to MERV 13 being the highest possible replacement of filters to create better airflow and again, to combat the virus and create a safer learning environment. In addition, we purchased air purifying systems. They're of the highest quality. These purifying systems are installed in classrooms, offices, and cafeterias. They contain HEPA filters, which filters air at the highest rating. In addition, we've purchased touchless hand sanitizing stations. There is one in every classroom installed so that there's instant access to clean hands.
Mr. Ellington, I have a quick question. In regard to HVAC systems, I'm under the impression it was 9 schools that had it replaced, or was it more than that as of now?
There are 10 schools, ma'am, that the board approved that are in that process for having HVAC replaced and upgraded. Some of our schools are still tied up with the Division of State Architect, one of them being Bell Gardens High School. We have gotten a temporary HVAC system for that situation that the work has been taking place and should be completed this week and will be up and running on Monday while we wait for the Division of State Architect to approve our projects.
Thank you. And, so far, thankfully, we've gotten through 10, and just want to acknowledge for the community and also for our executive staff and superintendent that the needs are still there. There's so many of our schools that need complete new HVAC systems. So just acknowledging that we are very well aware of that, and in due time, we will be changing those as well.
Yes, ma'am. That is our plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the questions. Take the next slide, please. I'll take the next slide. Oh, sorry, this is me. So in addition, we have been acid washing all of our school restrooms. This is a process that involves our vendors and our team. Our team has been coached up and taught how to do this thing to keep those restrooms as clean as possible. It's the only way to properly get those restrooms as clean as they need to be. In addition, we have temperature kiosk stations that are touchless that scans the face for temperature as well as wearing a mask. If the person being scanned is not wearing a mask, the machine will ring red and it will tell the person to put on a mask. Or if their temperature rings above 100.4, it will also ring red and not allow admittance. I'll take the next slide. Included in our return to school, we've been addressing items such as landscaping. We've been going through and updating our sprinkler systems as well as replacing signage and marquees. We also have new signage coming in to better train people on proper hand washing, distancing, and wearing the masks for COVID. We've also been repairing fences and gates where necessary. Here you'll see some of the updated landscaping and irrigation system taking place throughout the district. Here is some of the classrooms that had the carpet removed and the new tile installed. Here's some of the team at work, deep cleaning and disinfecting the classrooms. Here are some of the barriers that are up, separating the public from some of the workstations at the school sites. And here is a brief project list of some of the items that have been taking place by location throughout the district. So it'll list the school, and then going outward to the right, it'll list the project and where the project is. You'll note that we've been doing many, many things: asphalt, acid washing, air purifying, PP&E. There's been a lot of things happening over the last few months. Yeah. And I will pass this along. I believe it's Allison.
Hey,
Yes,
Don.
thank you. Mhm.
Allison, it's Mark. I would like, Don, a little comment, please, to the board and the community about what we decided to do with the water for the kids, please.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So in addition, sorry, thank you for bringing that up. We've reached out to a vendor to provide our students with bottled water that's going to be coming in from Nestle. So since the drinking fountains will not be available right now during COVID, we provided bottled water.
And I don't believe, and I think this is fair to say for any school district, I don't, unless the schools are brand new, ours are not. I don't believe that it is smart to try to use the old drinking fountains. One, the water's warm. Two, I don't believe that at this point, until we look at the plumbing on the situation, that we can completely say it's safe. I believe we're better off to use bottled refrigerated water, much the same as Arrowhead or Sparklets. That's what the adults drink, and I think the kids are our clients. I think they should have this. The teachers should have it also. It's going to have a lot better function with our students, our teachers, classified, and everybody will drink a lot more water if the water's good. They're not going to drink much water out of a warm drinking fountain. So I believe with the monies and what have you that were tied to COVID, I believe this is really a big thing that can easily get overlooked, but is important for the staff safety and the student safety, which is a push overall, much the same as what Kaven was saying with the ALL centers, the accelerated centers, that parents understand those accelerated centers are also a place for them to go for help for almost anything. And the water, I think, really sets a good tone district-wide not to be overlooked. Thank you.
I have a quick question regarding the water. I know we had previously had the discussion, that the water fountain situations have been, just not adequate for our students to be drinking from them. Our goal was to get the bottle filling stations. I don't know exactly what the name is, but are we anywhere near replacing those yet, or just I know everything's delayed because of the high demand, but can I have like a update on that?
Yes, ma'am. So as Mark was describing, rather than just install the water bottle fill stations, we felt that it was a better process to look into the plumbing that supplies those water bottle fill stations and make sure that it's going to be plumbing proper, healthy water for our students and for our staff.
A lot of the old plumbing that's in schools is galvanized pipe. A lot of the galvanized pipe was soldered. Regardless if you put purification systems on or whatever, it's nowhere close to being as clean as what we're going to provide with the Sparklet style bottles of water, refrigerated. And when we put the filling stations and what have you in, those fixtures are very, very expensive and they're very good, but they're not really worth anything with an old pipe. So that pipe would need to be swapped out so that we could safely say, yes, this is an improved situation. But for the time being, I believe everybody will like the chance to have small bottles of water. We could talk with kids, our students, about recycling the small bottles of water if they need to use those out on the playground or whatever, and also having the larger Sparklet style for the students and the staff. That would be the thinking, Board President.
Yeah, I appreciate, thank you. That logic makes absolute sense. Just once again, advocating that, we do eventually change these and, place these water filling stations that, would just be beneficial for the students. But, I know that we have a lot on our plate, so I also acknowledge that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I have a quick question. I know we're using the water bottles in lieu of the water fountains, and you mentioned recycling. Are we going to provide more recycle bins? Because we don't have the recycle bins. Recycling is not going to happen.
Right. So much of the water that's going to be coming is going to be in dispenser form. The water bottles will be a backup for that.
And we can certainly get more recycling equipment, yes.
Understood. Thank you.
Hi, Madam President, I have a question as well.
Yes.
Mr. Ellingson, thank you so much for your presentation or your part of the presentation. So again, are the kids getting water are they getting water bottles, or because I know you just said that they're going to be, how is that going to work? Are they getting water bottles, or are they going to be filling them up from gallons, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, it'll be a combination of both. That's what we're working with the vendor on right now.
Yes.
Okay, understood. And so I just wanted to make sure that for our community to know that, you know, for example, if a student has a water bottle and they want more water, that is available to them, correct?
Yes, they could fill it right up out of like a Sparklets type dispenser, yes.
Awesome, okay. And these will be in the classroom?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Ellingson? Great, thank you. I want to just finish up the in-person piece of this presentation with some additional information that was asked at the parent meeting on Monday that I wanted to make sure I clarify. There was some questions about transportation. So if your child regularly received transportation before, when we were in person, before the closing of schools, then they'll have transportation. If it's a new student who has an individualized education program, they'll have to contact the director of special education. So I just want to verify that and clarify that for our parents out there. And then we also had some questions about school times and schedules. Some of the parents were confused as to what the school times were and if it was going to be half day every day or if it was going to be regular school times. So it'll be the same times as it was before the closure. So please go to your child's website, the school's website, and it'll have the times on there. Mr. Sams, if you can, thank you. So to review, the state is allowing two options for an education program for the 2021-2022 school year. The first option was in-person learning, which we just reviewed. The second option is independent study. As stated earlier, our state has said that schools are expected to fully reopen for in-person instruction for this school year. Assembly Bill 130, which just recently passed, as I said previously, authorizes independent study for students whose health would be at risk by in-person instruction as determined by their parent or guardian. So to be clear, there are only two options, and independent study is not the same as distance learning. And distance learning is not an option any longer through the state, and neither is a hybrid model. There are only two options right now that the state is providing. So the bill, the Assembly bill outlines what's required by school districts at each level. So for students in grades TK, kindergarten, and grades 1 through 3, we only have to provide opportunities for daily synchronous instruction. For grades 4 through 8, we only have to provide opportunities for both daily live interaction and at least weekly synchronous instruction. For students in grade 9 through 12, we only have to provide opportunities for at least weekly synchronous instruction. So please keep that in mind when we go over the schedules in a couple of slides, because you will see that Montebello Unified School District is providing much, much more than the state is requiring from us. So in this part of the presentation, we're going to answer 3 questions. Independent study, what should you know? Independent study, what are the parent engagement requirements and the enrollment process? And then independent study, what do the schedules look like? Okay, do you want to move forward, Mr. Sam? Thank you. I would like to introduce Ms. Rodarte, our Director of Special Education. She'll be reviewing the next couple of slides.
Thank you, Dr. Garland. So again, AB 130, the intent of independent studies is to provide an opportunity for students who or whose health is possibly at risk if they return to in-person. It's available to students in grades TK through 12. That's key, as I will be addressing that in my next slide. It's alternative to classroom instruction, and enrollment is voluntary. Again, when we're considering independent studies, we really need to focus and process and reflect on your child's health. Are you putting them at risk by returning to in-person instruction? And also fully understanding the scope of what independent studies means. Now, in terms of special education, if we can move on to the next slide, please. If your child has an individualized educational program, again, independent studies is different from individualized. I'd like to really highlight and stress upon that. If your child has an IEP, you may still have the option to enroll in independent studies. It's important that we hold an IEP meeting because we really need to discuss if independent studies is appropriate in light of your child's unique needs. Additionally, we need to discuss whether the IEP can be implemented in the independent studies program, and also discuss if it's appropriate and the least restrictive environment. So parents who have students in special ed, I highly advise you and encourage you that if you are closely considering independent studies, that you can please connect with your school site administrator and schedule or request an IEP meeting. We have to hold the IEP meeting within 30 days to discuss your request and discuss all options for your child.
Mr. Lopez, I have a
Yes.
question. So for example, if a parent of a special needs student is expressing interest in independent studies, and I know because of the time frame, school begins next week,
Right.
how would that work? Because obviously the team has to get together, schedule and everything. So how would that work? Would they now report to school while this is getting, analyzed and the IEP team is going to meet together?
Right. So the expectation of AB 130 is that the child should be reporting to school while the IEP is held. What I can share with you is that as of Monday, when we held the community meeting, our administrators and teachers at the site really assembled and geared up, and they've started to hold meetings. We are trying to address them as we have been calling or contacting families. Many of these concerns have been addressed over the phone. Sometimes we do not have to hold the IEP meeting. As we're speaking and connecting with families, we're learning that their understanding of independent studies was different. And so we've been successfully meeting and addressing parent needs. But to answer your question, it will take up to maybe 2 weeks to get the kids successfully placed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for special ed? And do know that we have been getting many emails and phone calls, and we have been addressing the families as quickly as we can. And like I said, we have started holding the IEP meetings as of Monday. So we're trying to address them as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Director Rajarte.
Thank
The
you.
second question we will answer is, what is the parent engagement requirement in the enrollment process? So we've notified parents and guardians of their options to enroll in in-person or independent study. There needs to be a signed written agreement within 30 days after the first day of instruction. But just to be clear, students can begin independent study without having that master contract signed, which we will be going over in a couple of slides. You can begin without having a contract signed. We just have to sign it within 30 days. And you could schedule a conference with your school if you have any questions regarding the program. Next, we'll go over the enrollment process. Whoops, there you go. So the parent selects the independent study option to the school. That could be in person, by email, or by a phone call. And many of our parents have filled out a survey. The school informs the parent of the independent study availability in the district. And when I say that, I mean the student at that school might not necessarily have independent study at that school, depending on the numbers, if we have enough for a grade level at that school. Principal informs the IS teacher to meet with the parent and student to discuss the master agreement. If all agree, the student is enrolled. The parent has 30 days to sign the master agreement. So it can just be a conversation first, the student can begin, and the master contract can be signed within 30 days. We wanted to really discuss the time commitment for the parent, the guardian, or the caregiver at home for asynchronous learning time. And asynchronous is that independent time. It's when you're not with a teacher, the teacher of record, the teacher from MUSD. So it's all that independent study time. At the elementary school level, the parent, guardian, or caregiver works independently with their student 2 to 3 hours a day. So that's the time commitment for that grade level for how much homework, classwork, studying they will be doing completely independently. Some of those examples could be working at home with collections or working in the math program or doing tutorials. If you go to the next slide, we're going to talk about secondary. At the secondary level, the parent, guardian, or caregiver who works independently with students 3 to 5 hours a day. So that's the time frame with secondary. Some days it'll be 3 hours, some days 4 hours, depending on what type of homework and work that they have to do. That could be taking an online math assessment, using iReady, doing work that the teacher has provided to them. There are a lot of different examples, but during this asynchronous or independent time, which you're going to see in the schedules in a minute, that's when the child is not with the teacher at that point. Next, I would like to introduce Marissa Montenegro. She is part of our legal counsel. She's amazing, and she would like to talk about the master agreement portion of this presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marissa Montenegro. I'm a Deputy General Counsel at the district. So today I'm going to talk to you about the Independent Study Master Agreement. So one of the requirements for independent studies is that student, parent, and the independent studies teacher needs to sign an independent studies master contract. Although this is not a new requirement to sign this master contract, AB 130 added additional requirements that need to be included in this master contract, or like a roadmap that guides the student during independent studies. So some of the new requirements that need to be addressed is a plan for submitting assignments and reporting academic progress, objectives and methods of study, available resources, including textbooks, access to Chromebooks or computers, internet connectivity, and the number of course credits or other measures of academic accomplishment for students. So when we're signing this independent studies master agreement, it must be signed within the first 30 days that student begins instruction. So please note that just because student starts, for example, say September 1, it doesn't need to be signed until 30 days, including that first day. So like Dr. Garland stressed earlier, we need a lot of commitment between the student and the parents. So in this master agreement, student agrees to follow the discipline codes and behavior guidelines, to attend all instruction periods and to participate during instruction, live interaction, to turn in their assignments within 1 week of the due date. And after 3 missed assignments, an evaluation will occur to determine if independent study is appropriate for the student.
I have a quick question, Ms. Montenegro.
Sure.
Regarding the 3 missed assignments, is this 3 missed assignments in 1 week, or is this just over the time that they're doing independent studies?
Typically, it's an agreement and an understanding with each independent studies teacher because they give the value of the assignment to the student. So that's why it's important when the students and the parent and the independent studies teacher are signing the contract, they understand this agreement. So everything is pretty much spelled out. So any details like you're stating, is this going to be within this week or within X amount of assignments that I give you, for example, say it's due within the next 2 weeks. It just kind of depends with whatever the teacher and the student and parent agree to.
Thank you.
No problem. So like Dr. Garland also stated, the parents do have some responsibility in the independent studies program. And when they sign, they're accepting these terms. One is to supervise the student while they are completing their assigned work. 2 is to ensure the submission of all completed assignments. It's really important because with this type of program, the district needs to make sure that the student is successful in this program. And so the only way, because, students are not getting a full day of instruction every day, it's hard to assess. So we need to make sure that all assignments are completed in a timely manner. And then lastly, parents should, ensure that student attends and participates in the instruction and live interaction. So failure to meet these requirements of the independent master agreement can result in a series of re-engagement strategies for the student. So if, this can result in the student being removed from independent study and to be required to return to the in-person education placement, or back to an on-site campus.
Ms.
Next slide.
Montenegro, I have a question, and I think just because I've so many parents have approached me regarding like a numerous of concerns, as far as choosing independent studies. So I'm just wondering legally, when you say like re-engage a student to return on site, so we know, there's so much data out there talking about the social emotional well-being of students, trauma that they have endured, and just so much that we have to be mindful of. Is there any flexibility to provide students who will not be returning, or some type of assessment or mental well-being? Is there support to not be punitive, or is that legally what we're bound to?
No, absolutely. It's a tiered re-engagement process. We're going to talk about it in the next slide. And it's just strategies that the district can implement to bring the student, to figure out what's going on, what our students' needs, how can we get the student the support that they need. So regarding attendance requirements, this tiered re-engagement process, it's triggered when, so this is according to the new law, students are not generating attendance for more than 3 school days or 60% of instructional days in a week. And then students' attendance is based off completion of assignments. That goes back to the same thing when teachers are, signing this master agreement. What are they going to agree to, and how much value is going to be on that assignment? Next slide, please. So this is a tiers of re-engagement that I was discussing earlier. So when a student, when they're missing days or they're missing assignments and we need to contact parents, these are some steps that the district can take. One is verification of the current contact info for the student. We have to double check. Do we have parents' correct contact information, phone numbers, emails? Are teachers notifying parents when, kiddos are not signing on to these classes? If they're not turning in their assignments, we need to reach out to parent. Same thing, we need to outreach to parents to determine students' needs. Maybe the student is trying and they're attending these classes and they're turning in work, but it doesn't necessarily, equate to showing that they're really supported in this class. We need to make sure that they are being supported. And then lastly, we can always convene a meeting to review students' written agreement and reconsider the independent studies placement. Maybe, some of the supports and strategies for this child is not working. Maybe we need to change things up. Maybe we need to, modify the days that students are turning in assignments. Maybe that's not a good day for a parent to turn in assignments, or, maybe they need to physically go into the classroom to turn in assignments. It's just really an independent program and this contract is going to dictate everything that's occurring in this program. So that is what the Independent Studies Master Agreement is about. Does anyone have any questions about the agreement?
Ms. Montenegro, I have a question.
Sure.
So for the students or the parents that choose to put their student in independent studies, and I'm thinking more of the students that perhaps they also have to use independent studies because they have to stay home with the sibling. Can they still participate in extracurricular activities such as sports or AVID or clubs? Is that an option for them?
I think, and Dr. Garland alluded to this in the parent meeting, I think a lot of times we have to, speak with the principals on each of the school sites. Just some considerations that I have is, how close are these sports? If parents are deciding to keep kiddos home because they're afraid of the Delta variant or whatnot, do we really, want them to engage in these close contact sports? So I think each of these situations are very different. I think so long as we discuss this with parents, and the school site and figure it out what's best for your student, your child. I have seen nothing in the law that prohibits this. But at the end of the day, we want to keep our students safe. So I think, these kinds of decisions should also be something that maybe we discuss during this independent studies master agreement conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for mentioning that, because I think the important piece is that conversation, that relationship, that it's important that the parents, when they, even before they sign the master agreement, if they want to ask for a conference, they can sit down with the principal, they could do it via Zoom, via telephone, and just ask all the questions that they have. Like our legal counsel said, we really have to weigh that out, because if the parents are choosing to keep their child at home because they're so concerned, about the health of their child, again, you probably don't want them participating in a sport like, let's say, wrestling or things like that, because there's so much close contact. There's other sports like cross country where they're running outside the whole time, and maybe that's not an issue. So I think it's very individualized. That's why it's an independent study program. And that master agreement is so important. And that communication, that relationship with the teacher and the family. I can't reiterate that enough, to have those conversations, talk about the master agreement, and they'll sign off on it. Both parties will sign off on it. And that's the time where parents can really dig into, what does it mean, the 3 assignments, and how are you going to take attendance based on how many assignments a week? So that's when those conversations can occur. So thank you, Ms. Montenegro, for that piece. So now we're getting to the schedules and what it looks like at all of our levels. But we need to start with some definitions. I know some of these definitions throw off our parents a little because they don't always make sense. So the first definition is live interaction. And this is interaction between the pupil and LEA. The LEA is the school, classified or certificated staff, and may include peers, provided for the purpose of maintaining school connectedness, including but not limited to wellness checks, progress monitoring, provisions of services and instruction. This interaction may take place in person or in the form of internet or telephone. So for example, if the teacher has a morning meeting every morning for 15 minutes, which you're going to see in our schedule, checks in with all the students, how are you guys doing? They provide social emotional learning lesson through our Panorama platform. So live interaction is just simply that interaction and doing, like, checking up on the students and see how they're doing. Next are 2 funky words, synchronous and asynchronous instruction. So synchronous, for example, is teaching live via Google Meet. So that's what we're kind of used to during distance learning. The teacher gets on, whether it's Google Meet or Zoom, and they're presenting a lesson. So it's a classroom style instruction or designated small group, or it could be one-to-one, delivered in person or in the form of internet or telephone communications, and involving live 2-way communication between the teacher and the pupil. And synchronous instruction shall be provided by the teacher of record. And the parents did ask, what does that mean? It's their teacher, an MUSD employee. Asynchronous is that independent time. So this instruction occurs virtually online through resources like maybe textbooks or assignments without the real-time teacher-led interaction. So there's no 2-way interaction. It's the child at home, possibly with their caregiver, legal guardian, or parents, doing their independent work. So here is our schedule for TK through 5. And I do want to remind our community and our board earlier when I talked about what the requirements are. So the state only allows opportunities for TK through 3, opportunities for daily synchronous instruction. And you'll see we've done much more than that. And in grades 4 through 8, opportunities for daily live interaction and at least weekly synchronous. So you'll see we've combined TK5, and 4th and 5th grade, they only needed weekly synchronous. So I do want to emphasize that we're doing much more than what is required because we care so much about our students and our families. So they're going to have their daily live interaction in the morning. So this could be like a class meeting. However, the teacher is going to set that piece up every morning for 15 minutes. And then there's going to be that synchronous time. So that's that instruction time. It's that two-way talking. The teacher is presenting to their class. So from 8:30 to 9:15, they'll be doing English. For this is a TK example, by the way. This is TK through 5, though. From 9:30 to 10:15 will be math. And from 10:15 to 11 will be social science on Mondays. Then you'll see on Tuesday, we do English, math again, but then we do science. You'll see on Wednesday, they have that two-way communication with the teacher, English, math, and social science. And then you'll see we do English, math again, and science, and then English, math again, and PE. We still are required to do PE minutes. And then you'll see this asynchronous time. That's the 2 to 3 hours we talked about, that independent work. So the teachers will give work, and they will work on that in the afternoon. Yes, well, anytime, 2 to 3 hours in their day. And then you'll see that chunk of time between 11, 3:15. There may be that, there's some parents that would like their students to have a little extra help, or maybe the teacher wants to pull a small group. So that's the time that the teacher could contact parents on the phone, contact students, maybe pull some small groups. So your student might necessarily not be having interaction with the teacher at that time, but is there provided in case they need to pull for some extra help. So that's TK5.
Dr. Garland.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much. I know that we were discussing this and we've been having nonstop conversations, and just to see that, Montebello Unified is not doing the bare minimum. We are going, just being very mindful of making sure that our students who are staying home are just as important as students who will be going on site, assuring that we're going to support them. Having this daily online synchronous time is going to be so beneficial for those who do stay home. So to all of our executive cabinet, thank you so much. I mean, this truly will be valuable for our students. One quick question for the students who say, for example, 11 a.m. and on, is that something that parents would request as far as, I think my child didn't fully comprehend this lesson? Is that something that a parent can request with the teacher to have at that small group instruction or individualized time?
Yes, ma'am. And there's time throughout the day for some parent contact as well. That's a great time to talk about that, is maybe through the master agreement time, because they will talk a little bit about interventions. So you can say, if I'm struggling, what's the best way to get some extra help? Great time to talk about that is during master agreement. So thank you for bringing that up. That's a great question. We have had a lot of parents ask that too. Thank you. Okay, 6 through 8. Again, we're doing way beyond for this, because 6 through 8 requires that daily live interaction, but only weekly synchronous. And you'll see we're doing daily, and we're doing a lot. So we have our morning time, and then the synchronous 8:30 to 9:30 will be English. Every day we're going to have English and then math. Then we have mathematics and English. So you'll see between the times, then we have science and math, social studies and English, PE and math. So every day you're going to have 2 blocks of time that you're going to be provided instruction in those areas. Now, just as I said before, there are 3 to 5 hours of this asynchronous independent time where the students will work independently on their work that's provided by their teacher. And then you'll see that section, 10:45 to 3:15, where President Uribe just asked a great question. That could be the time that parents can maybe call in, talk to the teacher. When can I get some extra time and extra tutoring for my child? Or it could be small groups. So it's very individualized. Also, we chunked in that time of day too, so students can go to the schools to pick up their lunch if they need to do that. Okay, let's move on to high school. So high school is very different. It's very individualized. High schools, they have, let's say I'm a high school independent study teacher. I may have 30 kids. There could be 10 of them freshmen, 5 of them sophomores, 5 of them juniors, and 10 of them seniors. And everybody takes a different class. Not every child takes the same class. It's very different for them. So they basically do synchronous all day long. They meet with students individually for about an hour, do some tutorials, ask them how they're doing. They kind of do the SEL and the synchronous all in one while they're in that hour. It's very individualized in high school. That's why it's really difficult. We had some parents ask about maybe some advanced placement classes. in the high school model, it's individualized. Like I said, you meet weekly with that student. So it's not possible to do the advanced placement in this sort of setting. However, educational services is looking into a program where they could do AP coursework. We're not sure exactly what that looks like. Ed Services is looking into it. It's a supplemental program. And we also pay for the AP test. So students can sit for the AP test to receive that credit as well. And that's what high school looks like. Then I also want to address another concern that our parents have before I hand it over to Ms. Akopian is the idea of DIA. So we've had a lot of parents ask about the DIA program. And the thing about the DIA program is with our numbers right now, we're still looking at them, and parents, some parents are choosing from in-person to go back to, or I'm sorry, from distance learning to, or independent studies to go back to in-person and vice versa. So the numbers are pretty fluid. We don't know if we can have a full class of DIA. So we're still looking into it. It's a little fluid. However, I spoke with Dr. Yuen today, and we are looking into Rosetta Stone, increasing those licenses for the students that are currently in DIA, that they could be working on that independently at their homes as well. So that information will be coming out soon. Okay, now I want to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this was also just numerous concerns and questions that parents also had approached me regarding. So in regards to Rosetta Stone, would that now replace, just for example, last year students had their books shipped, the curriculum was shipped home from the DIA programs. Is that now not an option to have those, curriculum and books that were being used to now be shipped to the house? Would that now be replaced with Rosetta Stone?
Thank you for asking that. I apologize. I didn't include that as well. No, we would still ship out the materials for students that are in DIA so that they can work independently at home.
Okay, so whether they have an actual DIA teacher, they would still have curriculum that's relevant to, say, for example, they return second semester, they would still have that curriculum, so they're also familiar with it.
So if they say, for example, if it's a third grader that's in a DIA class and they decide to do independent studies, they would have the materials so that when they go back second semester, they would have the materials from the first semester. So you could talk with your principals to find out what exactly they're covering for semester, or I'm not sure if, Dr. Yuen, you might have the answer to this, if we could provide some sort of scope and sequence for the first semester.
Yeah, so all four of our DIA schools have a slightly different model. So the best person to talk to is the principal and the classroom teacher to find out what the scope and sequence is. But yes, we are making all of the core and supplemental materials that the schools provide available to the students in independent studies. And also, if needed, we could increase our licenses to Rosetta Stone. And this program is currently used by our students, and our teachers are familiar with it. So it would be a very smooth transition.
One more question. So for the students, say for example, the numbers were not great enough to hire a contract independent studies teacher for a DIE class, I don't know, first graders, would they now have what would they have during that online, that synchronous time? What would that look like for those students?
So it would look like the schedule I just showed you. So they would be taking English, thank you, ELA. They would be teaching ELA with the core curriculum that we have at the district, and it would be in English. And the reason why is let's say I'm a first grade teacher and 10 of my kids maybe are in DIA, but the rest of the students, the rest of the 20 aren't, then you have that mixed class. So we aren't able to offer that if we don't have a full class. And again, the numbers are still fluctuating and people are changing their minds rather quickly. So once we get that stabilized, that's something we could possibly look at. But we also want you all to know as a community that we can offer the Rosetta Stone alternative so students can work on that dual language. Any other questions from our board? Before I hand it over to Ms. Akopian. Thank you. Thank you for these wonderful questions. So the same ones we've been getting. So I really appreciate it. So hopefully the community is having more and more of their questions answered tonight. Ms. Akopian?
Thank you, Dr. Garland. Good evening, Madam Board President Uribe, esteemed board members, MUSD leadership, MUSD employees, and community participants. So as presented to you for the 2021-22 school year, we are excited to provide our students and families with the following opportunities: in-person instruction, safe schools, adhering to all safety guidelines as provided by the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, small class size for TK and kindergarten, 20 to 1, 20 students to 1 teacher. First through third, 22 to 1. Fourth and fifth grades at 29 students for 1 teacher. 6th to 8th grade core classes at 30 to 1. And 9th through 12th grade core classes at 31 to 1. So we are making a commitment to lowering class size. We are also committed to reducing the number of combination classes. We are committed to robust educational programs, dual immersion academies, specialized curriculums such as advanced placement, AVID, pathways, etc. Accelerated learning labs, which we are very proud of this program and very unique to MUSD to provide intervention and support to our students. Parent engagement activities and workshops, social emotional learning curriculum and support systems for students and parents, additional staff support for student and parents during the beginning of school. We have really worked with our administrators to ensure that all sites have additional support for the reopening of schools. And dedicated MUSD employees assigned to sites to ensure a smooth transition back to in-person instruction for our students. Next slide, please. We're also excited to provide the independent studies option available for students whose health would be at risk for parent or guardian, live interaction and or synchronous instruction as explained earlier by student services, and depending on the grade level of the student. Montebello Unified School teachers, some at the students' own home schools, although not all sites are able to host independent study classrooms. For students identified with special needs, an IEP meeting needs to be conducted in order for a determination to be made regarding placement into independent studies, and social emotional learning curriculum and support systems for independent study students as well. We are prepared and we're looking forward to an exciting year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Akopian. I want to thank our executive cabinet and our legal team for helping with the presentation. Of course, our 2 directors and Mr. Franco, thank you for being here. And our incredible Board of Education for all your support. To review for our community, the state is only allowing 2 options for instruction for the 2021-2022 school year: in-person or full-time instruction or independent studies. And we all know that this is a personal decision that each family needs to make, and we're here to support you in making that decision. Please understand the next couple of weeks, it won't be perfect. It's going to be a little messy. Please extend some grace to our schools and be patient as we work together to provide the best instructional program for your child's needs and to serve our community. And thank you to our Montebello community, and know that your child's safety and the safety of our staff is the most important thing to us. Any questions from our board?
Dr. Garland, Executive Cabinet, Legal Counsel, just want to thank you guys for this very comprehensive, very thorough just presentation, kind of just laying that foundation for those who may still need clarity or, you know, just some type of affirmation what choice they would be making. But thank you. I know that there's so much going on behind the scenes. Just want to thank everyone. At the end of the day, health and safety is our #1 goal. Treating all of these students like they're our own children. So, you know, we're not taking this responsibility lightly. We know what's at stake. We're very mindful of that. And there's just so many precautions that are being, you know, taking place, doing more than the bare minimum, you know, what the state is requesting. So just thank you for that. If there are additional comments or questions, please feel free to ask them.
Madam President, I do have a couple comments. First and foremost, I really want to thank all the parents and guardians that are at the forefront of their children's education. Just thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your understanding. Know that we are working very hard to provide the best service that we can provide to your students, to our staff. We are working for perfection, and be 100% sure that if we don't get to perfection, we will get really close as possible, because we understand that you are putting your precious treasures in our hands, and we are not taking that responsibility lightly. I do ask you for your patience. It is going to be difficult for these next 2 weeks as we navigate through these changes. Know that, again, your students are our #1 priority. And thank you so much to the executive cabinet for putting this together. I know that we had a meeting on Monday, and we had so many questions. We had over 1,000 participants, and thank you so much, Vice President Gutierrez, for suggesting that meeting. And then there was an overwhelming amount of questions, to the point where we thought, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's put more information out there, because we could never have too much information when it comes to our children. So thank you all so much, and know that we will continue to work hard for your children. Thank you.
Ms. Gutierrez, I believe you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to give a huge thanks. I want to start off with all the work that Dr. Scavarna, Dr. Garland, Dr. Ewan, Mr. Allenson, Ms. Montenegro, Ms. Copado, Ms. Hokopian, Mr. Franco, Ms. Rodarte, and Mr. Sams, for all the hard work that you have been doing, for putting this presentation together, for giving more information. Board Member Magaña said it perfectly. On Monday, we had a presentation similar to this, but on Tuesday, executive and myself, we sat down and we're like, okay, what other questions do we need to address? So that way the community has more clarity on both options, the in-person or independent studies. So I just want to thank the executive cabinet for giving me that time, and for also creating the frequently asked question sheets that's going to be out available for the parents. But thank you so much for everything that you all have been doing from months before to now. It really shows the hard work. The school district staff is extremely busy at the moment. I know so many parents still have a lot of questions, but just echoing what Dr. Garland mentioned, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact your school or contact the district, or even myself. I'm always here available to answer your questions, where if it's on social media, if it's via text message or calls, please feel free to reach out to me. We want to have a very successful school year. I'm very excited that the students are going to come back in person. The parents, I feel comfortable in sending them back. It's been over a year and a half, so I'm really excited about that. So I just want to thank everyone, the teachers, classified, cabinet, parents, and for having a wonderful school year. So please make sure, like how Ms. Board Member Magaña mentioned, please give us some time and patience. We will get through all the working process. We'll get everything squared away, and it will be a great year. Thank you so much again. Have a great evening, everyone.
Are there additional comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, thank you very much, Executive Cabinet members. We will now move on to our public comment. Ms. Copado, do we have any public comment to be read?
Yes, thank you, President Uribe. We do have one written public comment. Good afternoon, Board of Education and District personnel. I'm writing to you today to call on you to not approve the revisions to Board Policy 6158 and Administrative Regulation 6158, Independent Studies. If Monday's disastrous meeting for independent studies was any indicator of the lack of preparedness at the district level, then you need to give more answers and solutions and need way more community parent input. I have two children that are in the dual immersion program, a soon-to-be sixth grader, LMI, and a soon-to-be second grader, LME. In Monday's meeting, there were about 6 district reps and 0 facilitators for over 1,000 parent/staff participants. There were over 700 questions in the chat at one point. I was on a phone group chat with parents, and we related to each other that none of our questions were even addressed. To give an example, I left that meeting with 25 questions put into the Q&A chat, all of them about dual immersion independent studies. None were answered. Another parent asked 15 questions, another 10 questions, another 9 questions, and so forth. None were answered. Our questions were simple. What does dual immersion look like? The answer was there is no teacher for the synchronous time for dual students in independent studies. We were also informed that staff, teachers, aides, and personnel can count as synchronous teaching time for our children. I'd like to shout out Ms. Esmeralda at the front desk of LME. She's fantastic at her job, but she does not have the credentials, nor does she get paid enough to instruct my children. What parents of dual immersion independent students' children are asking for is this. We want dual immersion teachers that can teach our children dual curriculum during the state required synchronous instructional time of the day. We want a comprehensive dual language independent studies curriculum for our children, not just some Xerox Spanish worksheets stapled together. We want equitable education for our students. To give our students anything less than that is a violation of their educational rights. I would question the legality of it as well under Education Code Section 51745, subsection A, subsection 3. By law, the independent study option is to be substantially equivalent in quality and quantity to classroom instruction and shall not be provided as an alternative curriculum. We are asking for equity and substantially equivalent independent studies compared to the in-person learning dual students. That means dual language teachers for dual language students in independent studies. Anything less would be an intentional violation of students' dual immersion education path. Anything less would be a disservice to our dual students' hard work and time they've dedicated to dual immersion program at MUSD. We cannot control the pandemic, but you can control how you prepare and provide equitable and comprehensive dual language education for the hundreds of dual language students that will be opting for independent studies this year. We need teachers who teach dual language to give students synchronous instructional time. There are dual immersion teachers that want to teach independent studies available right now. Please have an emergency meeting with the over 6 dual immersion schools, speak with the principals and teachers, and come up with a solution quickly. MUSD got millions of dollars in funding, so you can't say it's lack of funds that won't allow for finding a solution. And the excuse that MUSD is providing the state required option is bare minimum options. Our students deserve better than the bare minimum. They deserve the best. And lastly, I would like to really emphasize this last point. Parents are not opting to choose independent studies. We are opting to keep our children home because that is the only option that allows our children, many who do not have access to a vaccine yet, to safely learn during a global pandemic, during a surge in which we are seeing a rising cases of child hospitalizations and deaths in the last week. That was the only option we felt was safest for our children. The majority of parents would prefer distance learning. I have spoken with Mr. Sams. I have spoken with Dr. Lazama, and both have agreed that the best solution would be to have dual immersion teachers for our dual students in independent studies. So let's make that happen. Let's be solution-based. Let's give our children our best efforts. Thank you for your time, Tiffany Sanchez. And that was the only written public comment that was submitted, President Uribe, but Dr. Yuan, do we have any comments that came in telephonically?
Yes, I have 5, so let me go down the list. The first is Emma Guerrero calling about independent studies. All right, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Madam President, Uribe, and board members, my name is Emma Guerrero, and I'm in the dual language program at LMI. This should be an exciting time for me as I start attending LMI, but it's not because it isn't an option for me. I come to you asking for help, board members. You'll help me out, won't you? I will be one of the many students choosing independent studies as a last resort because I don't believe there was much of a choice. I am very worried of falling behind in the dual language program and losing all the Spanish I have learned at LME. I'm asking for all the extra help you can give to students in the program. If you ask me, learning a second language and independent contract studies don't go hand in hand. Why isn't full online learning like before an option for students in the dual language program? After all, this is a special program in the Montebello School District. How is it fair to us getting packets with very little help or guidance as we learn another language? I can tell you that when we are learning online, it was hard enough, but at least we had teachers explaining to us on a regular basis. Plus, we had the chance to practice our Spanish with our classmates, which I think is very important when learning another language. How is the packet going to offer me the same experience? I think the other students and parents are feeling stressed out about independent studies like I am. Please don't make this COVID situation harder on us. I leave you with this quote. Until we get equality in education, we will have an equal society. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next we have Tiffany Sanchez calling about independent studies. Okay, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening, board. I'm so glad to be able to take this moment to speak on behalf of the numerous parent groups that I'm involved with that actually have children in the dual immersion program. I keep hearing, first of all, I want to say that I understand that we're all trying to do our best to get equitable access for our children. But I want to emphasize that, we're hearing a lot of we're doing the more than bare minimum. And I want to emphasize that LAUSD, for example, is at least getting their kids COVID tested before they even start school. So when we're talking about not doing bare minimum, I want you all to take into consideration that parents are hearing that there are two options. No other options are given. We are hearing that there are no dual immersion options for our independent studies, that there are no teachers that can actually teach them comprehensively. We're not asking for a bunch, we're asking for equitability. We're asking for equal. So if Common Core is getting that for independent studies, dual immersion should, by law, be able to get substantially equal education. We're hearing that Rosetta Stone might be our children's teacher for dual immersion for independent studies. This is not comprehensible. This is not equitable. This is not going above and beyond. This is bare minimum. We need our teachers, the dual immersion teachers, to be teaching our children for dual immersion independent studies. There's no way of getting around that. I mean, we've heard a student call in, right? And I laid out pretty well my concerns in the written email. And I just want to be able to really emphasize that and take that home, that you're saying that we're choosing this independent contract study. We're choosing to keep our children home during a global pandemic. is what we're choosing because the distance learning option was taken away from us. Now, just because the state is only offering 2 of these options does not mean that Montebello Unified School District can't be bold, can't come up with bigger solutions than what were laid out for us by the state. I'm challenging you all. I'm challenging you all to try to do the best that you can. I'm challenging you all to actually go above and beyond of what we were given. Because at the end of the day, what the parents are going to hear are, did you give us all the options? No. Then that was the bare minimum. We deserve, our children deserve equitable access to education. All their hard work deserves equitable access to education. And for the children that don't have a fierce mama like me to advocate for them, who is going to advocate for them? I'll advocate for my kids.
All right, thank you. That's 3 minutes. And if you want to pass it over to Herman Nunez.
Sure.
Hello?
All right, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I actually had some questions about, let me see. I just want to kind of address my partner's comments as well. I just wanted to say that we had a plan for bilingual child, and we're very pleased with the program, and it's been coming in very, very handy for them because they're able to engage with people from both sides of this, Spanish speaking and English. So it's a good program, and I'd like to hand over my time.
All right, thank you. All right, and then next we have Ezra Nunez.
Sure.
All right, you have 3 minutes.
So, hold on, let me pass him the phone. Ezra. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to talk to the board members in the district. You can start now.
My name is Ezra Nunez. I'll be a 6th grader next Monday at LMI. I'm in the dual program. I'm in the dual program and in independent studies. I need a dual language teacher to instruct me for synchronous time. My Spanish is better than my mom, so she can't teach me. I depend on instruction being in Spanish so I can keep learning. All my hard work will be for nothing. Spanish will be all my hard work learning Spanish will be for nothing. Please figure something out. Tutors are not the same as teachers. Teachers are worth the weight in gold. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And last we have Christiana Ortega calling in about independent studies. All right, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, MUSD Board of Education, Executive Cabinet members, teachers, parents, and students. My name is Christiana Ortega. I'm a parent. The proposed independent studies alternative to in-person learning is inadequate. Why have we moved away from the distance learning model we participated in last year? How are we addressing learning gaps if the independent study alternative does not give children the opportunity to learn and participate in courses to quote, be the same rigor, educational quality, and intellectual challenge substantially equivalent to in-person instruction, end quote, as per the California Department of Education Independent Study Notice pertaining to Assembly Bill 130 and alternative schools and programs of choice. From my understanding of the not so informational meeting regarding the independent studies alternative, it is not offering support and quality education for the dual immersion academy students. AP classes are not being offered, nor the GATE or AVID program. You are asking students and their families to put their health at risk in order to gain access to these in-person educational benefits. Yet the district still holds its meetings behind the safety of the screen. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments.
Thank you, Ms. Copado. Thank you, Dr. Ewan. At this time, we will move on to our consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled for further discussion and or action? Okay, hearing no items that will be pulled, I will now move to approve the consent agenda as presented. May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Ms. Gutierrez,
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez,
Aye.
Ms. Cabrera,
Aye.
Ms. Magaña,
Aye.
and an aye for me as well. That motion is carried. At this time, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn this evening's meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote, Ms. Gutierrez,
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez,
Aye.
Ms. Cabrera,
Aye.
Ms. Magaña,
Aye.
and an aye for me as well. That motion is carried. We will now adjourn this evening's meeting. Have a blessed night, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.